Hi, it's Jonathan Shrager here for WOE TV. I'm joined today by the inimitable Ariel Helwani.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello. How are you, Jonathan?
I'm good.
To meet you in person.
And yourself as well, yes.
See how excited I got just there?
I spotted it, yeah. I spotted it. We had a good chat about a year, maybe a year and a half ago, where I spoke about an hour and a half on the phone, and I think your kid and your wife came home at the time, and I really held you up that day.
Then I was like, enough of you, Jonathan. I mean, it's really... only I'm allowed to take up an hour of people's time. But no, it was a pleasure. A lot of people still talk to me about that interview, so happy to be here. So happy to be here, really, in Dublin. It's really exciting, so good to be here talking to you.
Okay, well, that neatly segues on to the first question, I suppose. I suppose it's like, we know it's a big event in Europe if yourself and MMA fighting are here covering it. So does that attest to the kind of transcendental appeal of Conor McGregor in the MMA world, the fact that yourselves here covering the event?
I mean, I don't know if that is an indication of his appeal, us being here, but I can tell you that I really wanted to cover this event because I recognize that it is a big deal. You know, there are so many UFC events these days, and there are a lot of big fights. There was a big fight, two big fights, just a couple weekends ago in Las Vegas. There's another one coming up in San Jose with Robbie Lawler and Matt Brown next weekend. But it's rare these days, or at least it's rare for me to get to go to events where the city, the people, all this is part of the story as well. You know, Matt Brown, Robbie Lawler, a tremendous fight on a tremendous card, but it's in San Jose, and that's just another city. But this, Dublin, and how thirsty the fans are for UFC action and how long they've been asking for the UFC to come back, and their relationship with Conor McGregor. You know, the UFC was in Atlantic City on Wednesday. I live 2 hours by car from Atlantic City. I don't get to drive to any UFC event. That's pretty much maybe that, or if they went to Philadelphia, that's pretty much the closest event, or Newark as well. But it's very rare. And I flew all the way here to Dublin. I missed that event. That's how much I wanted to be here. Originally, MMA fighting, amazing place. The best employers I've ever worked with. I'm not just saying that because I work for them. It's an absolute pleasure. And they were like, there's just so many events. It's a Fight Pass show. It's a fight night. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. But then I kept bothering them. And I think after Conor and Cole Miller were on the MMA Hour going back and forth, I think they finally figured it out that, yeah, we should probably be here. And so far, it's been great.
Fantastic. And obviously sort of discussing Conor, it's become very apparent. He's made multiple appearances now on your MMA Hour, your weekly show on the Monday. And it's very evident that you both have a jovial rapport, a bit of banter, as we say over here in the UK.
By the way, is this the UK? Because I've learned that Northern Ireland is in the UK, but this is its own republic, right?
True. That's true. Yeah, corrected me there. Yeah, no, thanks for the bit of a geography lesson there. It is true. It's true. But no, I mean, so yeah, I mean, the rapport you share with Conor is very evident on camera anyway, that you seem to get on well. Is that a fair statement to make? Yeah,
I think it's very fair. I mean, he's obviously very personable. He's funny. I enjoy his demeanor, his shtick. I like it. That's one of the things I love so much about the fight game that you don't see in other sports. There are such unique characters in the sport, and they're allowed to amplify their character. They're allowed to put themselves out there. It's something that's welcomed. It's embraced, and I like that very much. That's one of the things that drew me to try to become an MMA journalist. Again, there are so many events these days. There's almost one every week, but this event has nothing to do with Atlantic City, and it has nothing to do with San Jose next weekend, and it has nothing to do with Vegas a couple weekends ago. There might be an event every single day, but every single event presents its own set of stories, characters, situations, stakes, and I love that. It's not like, to make a comparison to a sport you might know, it's not like, match, 56 of the British Premier League. How many games are there?
About 40.
40, okay. I was thinking of the NHL or the NBA. But you get my point.
Yeah.
They're important. People love them. But to me, every event is so important to the fighters, and then you won't see these guys for several months. So back to Conor, I really enjoy what he's done in MMA as of late, and I often believe that distance makes the heart grow fonder. He hasn't fought in 11 months, and so I think a lot of people, including myself, are very anxious to see how he'll look upon returning.
And do you feel that do you get the overwhelmingly positive response when you interview Conor? Because it seems like he's made a significant amount of appearances in the MMA Hour in a short space of time. So you must be getting some really positive feedback on Twitter to want to kind of have the shows with him.
Yeah, I get that, and then I get other people saying like, "Oh, enough of this guy. What has he ever done? He's overhyped." You know, the typical stuff. And it's a little different than if I would have Alistair Overeem on a lot, or some other guy who's more, Chris Weidman, who's a champion, something like that. I'm thinking of some of the regulars on the show. Conor's just 2-0 in the UFC. 2 of his fights were on the prelims. But I like characters like that. It doesn't matter to me if, we used to have Sean McCorkle on all the time, Matt Mitrione when he was just coming up. I like the characters, that's my favorite part of covering the sport. So, there are some people, yesterday we interviewed him and he said that he would be champion by the end of the year. And now everyone's upset. This guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's so cocky. My response is just enjoy the ride. He might not be your cup of tea, and that's cool. You may hate him. At least he's getting some kind of reaction out of people. You might be the biggest Diego Brandao fan. You think he's going to kick his ass on Saturday. That's awesome. But at least you're not just, ho-humming it and saying this is a fight that I can skip. He at least makes people feel emotionally invested, good or bad, in the fight, and I think that's very important.